Okay, welcome to my live chat. I'm hoping people will actually join my chat and we can have a talk. That's what I'm trying to do. And it would be great if you could join me and we could have a talk. I'm continuing my current topic, which is Donald Trump. Want to hear what people think about him. Want to find out why people actually follow him, because that actually is a big question for me. And I'd really like to know why people actually follow him and advocate for him with respect to the things that he's doing. Obviously, right now as being the president of the United States, it'd be great to find out why people, think that's a great thing. To start off, I'm going to continue with requesting that people join my channel. I'm looking to get my channel up to the requirements from YouTube, which is 1,000 subscribers and between, I think, 30 and 40 watch hour of time on the YouTube videos that I have up. So if you could do that, that would be fantastic. It would help me out a lot. And I would thank you very much if you do so. So, based on that, I'm just going to have my conversation today about Donald Trump. And I'm going to continue on the same line that I was talking in the last couple of conversations, which is basically why Donald Trump is the way Donald Trump is. Basically get into his background, his characteristics, I guess, his way of looking at things, and I've gone somewhat on things like that in the past. One big thing that I was talking about in the previous chat was impact on Donald Trump to who he is, and I'm using ChatGPT. I always say because it's the best, but again, these are AI engines, and they basically answer questions based on their presumption of what they think you want to hear. But again, my questions were not so much to try and say, hey, why is this or why is that? More along the lines, can you explain this? And ChatGPT came up with the aspects of one of the biggest impacts on Donald Trump was his father, Fred Trump. If you know anything about his father, and I've seen documentaries and videos about him, and you could say he somewhat is he was an extreme person, a very tough person. He was very tough on his family. As I mentioned previously, Donald Trump's older brother, who had passed away because of conditions and situations he was going through, which a lot of people feel, and I don't think it's actually too far from the truth, was an intense impact that his father had on him. And, that kind of personality, you could see how being such a tough mentality, a tough person in general, could impact your children. And you could see that probably was a big impact on Donald Trump, just from the way you can see Donald Trump interacts and interacts with other people. I'm going to continue with that, and I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to continue with somewhat of the suggestions that ChatGPT makes with respect to continuing a conversation you have with them. And it came up with 3 comments or suggestions that I gave at the end of the previous chatting activity, which is compare Fred Trump's influence to Elon Musk's father, Putin's upbringing, or other dominant leaders. I would say I don't think he would have any influence on those people, as I don't think they even knew him, and would actually have 0 impact on him. So I don't think the first suggestion is good. Analyze how Trump's psychology affects his decision-making under stress. That's somewhat interesting. Break down how this personality performs well and fails in leadership roles. I don't want to get into that. We can see that somewhat in general. I think just say the word. Not sure what word they want me to say, so what I'm going to do the second one. just because it gets into the same sort of light that I'm looking at, which I'm not a psychologist, but a lot of people say, that sounds like you're doing psychology-based kind of evaluation here, and probably is in that light, but I'm not a psychologist, so I can't say I'm doing it in any kind of, any kind of professional manner, just me asking questions. And I think this might be something good to ask, how Donald Trump's psychology affects his decision-making under stress. So let's do that. Okie dokie. Below is a focused behavioral analysis of how Donald Trump's psychology shapes his decision-making under stress. This is based on consistent patterns across business crises, media conflicts, and high-pressure political moments. Again, this is not a clinical diagnostic, but an analysis of observable behavior. Okay. Sounds like ChatGPT is not a psychologist or psychiatrist either. So this is a general perception of actually how he does what he does. How Trump's psychology affects his decision-making under stress. Core principle. Under stress, Trump does not become cautious or introspective. He becomes more exaggeratedly himself. Not really sure what that means because it didn't describe what they mean by himself, but after getting on aspects of what that core principle is. Stress amplifies dominance. I can see that. Impulsivity. Using words, it's hard for me to say. Narrative control, aggression, loyalty testing. I could say I've seen all these characteristics and all these points brought out in what I perceive and what I've seen Donald Trump do. So I could say that, if this is what it means about bringing out more exaggeratedly himself, I can see these are points that are characteristics about himself. Bad or good? That's somewhat an aspect of your self-respective kind of activity itself. So, next one is stress triggers a threat to ego response. I'm not actually really sure what that means. How Trump perceives stress. Trump experiences stress primarily as loss of control, maybe. Loss of status, I'm not really sure about that one. Humiliation risk, I think yes, somewhat there. I don't think he likes humiliation at all. Public defeat, and that is something, Trump dislikes a lot. This is crucial. He does not experience stress as a complex problem to solve, but as a threat to identify. Okay. That's interesting because some people sit there and say, stress is something along the lines of things that are pressure points on your ability to handle a specific situation you're going through. And it sounds more along the lines of saying he doesn't really tackle that way. It's more along the lines he just tries to identify what it is. Resulting decision patterns. When ego is threatened, decisions are filtered through. Does this make me look strong right now? Not. Is this strategically optimal long term? I don't think Donald Trump does anything long term. So, immediate behavioral shifts under stress. Attack mode. Default response. When stressed, Trump almost always escalates rhetoric, names enemies, yes, personalizes conflict, probably, yes, goes on offense, yes. This is a defensive aggression reflex learned early. I don't know if he learned that from his father, because I don't recall or remember seeing anything where it was talked about. His father was tough. I get the impression his father didn't let anybody push him over, but don't really per se or remember any kind of aspects where his father went on an offensive kind of operation or activity. It's more along the lines he was more strategic and thought about things in the background about how he can handle situations. Psychological function. Attacking restores a sense of dominance and control. Yeah. Decision effect. Rapid counterattacks. Yes. Fewer concessions. Public escalation instead of private negotiation. Okay. Narrative over reality. Under stress, Trump prioritizes controlling the story over correcting the situation. He will deny losses, yes. Redefine outcomes, yes. Repeat simplified framing, yes. Discredit messengers, yes. Decision effect. Delayed course correction. Preference for messaging solutions over operational ones. Resistance to acknowledging failure even when an adjustment would help. I mentioned this quite a bit before. Donald Trump does not like to admit failure. He doesn't like to admit falsehood. He doesn't like to say, if someone came to us, that seems to be a lie. He dislikes that, getting kind of representation that where he did something wrong. You can see that just in his interaction with people. He doesn't like that, Loyalty test intensifies. Stress increases Trump's demand for personal loyalty. He tends to purge dissenters, reward affirmers, distrust neutral experts, interpret disagreement as betrayal. I'd say these are valid statements. Decision effect. Shrinking advisory circle. Increased risk of confirmation bias. Reduced exposure for inconvenient facts. Okay. Cognitive style under stress. Black and white thinking. Stress collapses nuance. People become strong or weak, with me or against me, winners or losers. This sounds very much like Donald Trump's father, because there's lots of comments about the fact that, his father was, you're either strong or you're weak. Not so much against me or with me type. I don't remember seeing anything about that. I probably would not be surprised if he was like that. Winners or losers, yes. In fact, I've said and I've heard and I've read things about his father talking about Donald Trump's older brother, where his father called him a loser because he didn't like the fact that his brother decided that he chose his own life. He wanted to choose his own path, that he wanted to follow. If you don't know, his brother was a pilot. I believe he was a commercial pilot, from what I read. I actually don't know that officially, but I think he was a commercial pilot, and his father didn't like that. Call him a loser about making bad decisions. I'm thinking to myself, I don't think of being a commercial pilot as being a loser. I'm thinking to myself, and I've said it before, that takes a lot of skill. I would say that's probably not an easy job to do. One thing, flying an aircraft is one thing. Flying an aircraft with other people who you have to make sure are okay, that you're flying, that they're traveling with you. I can't see that not being stressful. Like, I would say that would be very stressful, having that kind of, that kind of responsibility. Decision effect. Oversimplification of complex issues. I would say that's true for about Donald Trump. Reduced tolerance for compromise. Maybe. High risk framing. Total victory or total failure. I can see that, yes. Emotion-driven speed. Trump favors fast decisions, and I would say that happens too much. Gut instincts. Yes. Visible action. I guess so, yes. Stress accelerates this tendency. Excuse me. Decision effect. Decisiveness increases. Accuracy may decrease. Long-term planning is deprioritized. I don't think Donald Trump does anything long-term. I don't think that's something that it's in his forethought at all. At least from the way I see him. See things that's resulted from things that he's working on or did and such, and how he got there. I don't see concepts of long-term being something that's important to him. Strengths under stress, important balance. Trump's psychology is not purely a liability under stress. High stress tolerance. He is usually comfortable with chaos, confrontation, negative attention, public pressure. That one, negative attention, it's interesting because some of the comments that Mr. ChatGPT made above kind of like point out the fact that negative attention or attention in a negative sort of fashion was something he did not like, and I would agree with that 100%. He does not like negative attention. If that's what this means, or does it mean that he is applying negative attention to other people? I'm not sure. Maybe that's my misunderstanding of what ChatGPT actually meant in here, but I'm taking and I'm looking at this as being, it says he's unusually comfortable with negative attention, and I'm going to assume that it's meaning that that's something that is against him. It's negative tension towards him, and I don't agree with that 100%. I don't think, from all the stuff I've read, all the stuff I've seen, all the stuff I've gone through with ChatGPT, point out the fact that he does not like negative attention at all. In fact, he gets very, very upset when any kind of negative, accusation is put towards him. This allows him to act when others freeze. I'm not sure about that. Absorb criticism without withdrawal. Remain publicly confident during crisis. These last two ones. The second one I don't agree with at all. Absorb criticism, for one thing. I don't think he can absorb criticism without withdrawal. That part probably is true. The fact is, when he's attacked, he attacks himself. So I could say, yeah, that part is true. He doesn't withdraw with criticism, but I also don't believe that he absorbs criticism. I feel that he can't stand criticism at all. Remain publicly confident during crisis. Some people may say he presents himself as being confident, but I think it gets along lines of the way he presents himself in public as always being right, even though when it's presented that he's doing things very wrongly. So I would say that's a question mark about whether that statement is actually true or not. Refusal to appear defeated. While this can be a flaw, it also sustain morale among supporters, projects stability, prevents panic signaling. In certain negotiations, this can create leverage. I was going to say this is not true, but I'm thinking, I'm just rereading it. It says refusal to appear defeated. Yeah. This gets into my aspect of what I said before about him not accepting any kind of false presentations, accusations towards him. That aspect of saying, well, I'm not going to be the underdog. I'm not going to be the one who is presented in a light that's not favorable. He will not accept being defeated. And I think of all the stuff that I've read and seen, I don't think he can. Now, is that a good thing or a bad thing? I'm thinking to myself, well, if you present things in a way where you present the strong kind of stance without aspects of, let's say, accepting accusations of defeat, that's one thing. But I find a lot that Donald Trump goes further than that, where he actually states things in a way that tries to present a level of truthfulness that is not. He'll say things that are 100%, lies. They are. I've seen him say things that are 100% lies. Now, the thing is, that's an aspect of saying with this comment is, well, he's not accepting defeat. The whole thing is, he's also making it look like he is not wrong. Everything he's done is correct. Everything he's done is the right thing to do, the right way to look at it. Weakness under stress, inability to de-escalate. Trump struggles with retreat, apology, partial concession, quiet compromise. Yes, he doesn't like to treat. He certainly does not like to apologize. Partial concession, I think that's just a continuation of apology. Quiet compromise, I don't think he likes to compromise, be it quiet or not. He does not like to compromise, even when de-escalation would reduce damage. Well, don't think he really looks at it in that point of view. Poor error correction. Because admitting errors feels like humiliation, mistakes persist longer, signals are ignored, pivots come late, if at all. I'd say these are things he doesn't like to do, so I can't really say it's an aspect of his character per se, as much as he just doesn't do those things. Over-personalization. Stress makes Trump interpret events as they're attacking me. Yeah, I would say that's true. Rather than this is a structural or impersonal problem. I guess that's one way of looking at it, but certainly he presents everything as they're attacking me, they're trying to get me. Decision effect, emotional reactions, retaliatory framing, personal grudges, influencing policy choices. I'd say those are all true. Comparison to other leadership styles under stress. Technocrats, slow down, analyzes data, consensus builder, expands consultation, authoritarian planner, centralizes control quietly. Trump escalates public escalates. Yeah, excuse me. I thought there was a comma in between escalates and publicly. Escalates publicly, simplifies narratives, attacks. Yes, that's Donald Trump for sure. Trump is closer to a combat leader archetype than managerial one, probably. Situations where Trump performs best under stress. He performs relatively well when the problem is adversarial, a clear enemy exists, public confidence matters, speed beats precision, symbolism matters more than detail, examples, negotiations, political conflict, media battles. Yeah, I'd say that's all true. Situation where Trump performs worse under stress. He struggles most when nuance matters, expertise contradicts instinct, quiet contradiction is needed, long-term trust is required, admitting error improves outcomes. Example, complex bureaucratic systems, multivariable crisis. One sentence summary. Under stress, Trump chooses dominance and narrative control over reflection and adaptation, gaining short-term psychological advantage at the cost of long-term flexibility. Final insight. Trump's stress response is coherent, not chaotic. I'm not sure about that. I think I would disagree with that. It is optimized for survival, control, strength projection, identity preservations. Yeah, I think that's pretty much. But it's poorly optimized for learning, correction, de-escalation, institutional trust. That trade-off defines both his greatest strength and his most persistent vulnerabilities. And that's the end of this psychological evaluation from ChatGPT about Donald Trump. And I can't give any confirmation about these points, except for the fact that the points of Donald Trump not being very, he's not able to handle attack, which a lot of the points in this particular section brought out. He doesn't handle being attacked. And you can see it, obviously. You can see him say it right on TV. That person attacked me. Those people are attacking me. They're trying to put me down. They're trying to, do something bad. You see him say that. He can't handle that. And to me, that's probably, if you want to think about stress, the thing that's most stressful about Donald Trump. He doesn't like being attacked. Is it because he doesn't like looking bad? I'm thinking that's a very high possibility. If it's the only thing about that, then, you know, I'm not really sure. But anyways, I think I'm going to end things there. Nobody contacted me. Nobody called me up. Nobody wanted to join my conversation, which again, I'm trying to get people to join my conversation. I really want to have talks with people about this. I'm not really here to really, you know, just iterate a bunch of stuff, because I don't want my channel to be that way. I don't want my channel me saying what I think things are. I want to actually have a talk with other people about what they think. You know, to ask questions about why people look at things a certain way. So that way I can get an understanding of why people look at things a certain way. And that's what I'm trying to get going here. I will be continuing with Donald Trump. I'll be trying to get people that I've been trying to get to join my conversation to talk about him. And if I can get people to start talking and joining, that would be fantastic. Again, I'm going to leave it there. Again, if you do view this video, I really would like it if you join my channel, because again, I'm trying to get my channel count up to 1,000 and get my watch hours up. So if you can do that, that would be fantastic. And I will leave things there. And again, I will thank you very much for watching.